Hey, I'm hoping that in this video I can clear up where our trig functions are positive, where they are negative, and why they're positive or negative. So in quadrant 1 here, quadrant 1, we have a positive x and a positive y over here to get to our point. So because we have this positive x and positive y in quadrant 1, and r is always positive no matter what quadrant we're in all of these, r is going to be positive. We know that everything in quadrant 1 is positive. But what if we're in quadrant 2? So to get to quadrant 2, we would have to go over negative x units and up some certain amount of y units. We'd have to go negative x units, positive y units. So now in quadrant 2 over here, everywhere there's an x, we're going to put a negative sign. So in quadrant 2, cosine is negative and tangent is negative because of that x. Now quadrant 3. To get into quadrant 3, we would have to go negative x units and negative y units. So negative x units, some negative y units to get a point down here. Negative y. So now anywhere there's an x or a y, we're going to put a negative sign. So sine and cosine are negative. In tangent, we actually have y over x, and both of them are negative. And a negative divided by a negative just makes it positive. So tangent is actually positive in quadrant 3. Now quadrant 4, I have to go over positive x units, down some sort of y units into the negatives. So positive x, negative y. So anywhere I have a y, I'm just going to put a negative sign. So sine is negative in quadrant 4, cosine is positive, tangent is negative. So this is what I remember. And if you go over it a couple times, I think it'll make your life a lot easier in trigonometry. I think it's just an important thing to remember, and I think you would end up remembering it no matter what, because you're going to use it so many times. So sine in quadrant 1, we figured out down here, is positive. Cosine is also positive, and so is tangent, because we just have x, y, and r is always positive. In quadrant 2, we found that sine is positive, cosine is negative, tangent is negative. In quadrant 3, we found that sine is negative down here, cosine is negative, and because we have negative x and negative y to get into quadrant 3, tangent ends up being positive. In quadrant 4, because of our negative y, sine ends up being negative, cosine ends up being positive because it's x and r, and tangent, negative y over x, ends up being negative. And this is really what I think you should memorize. Just write it down a couple times. You'll probably get it pretty quickly. And there's just little things to remember too. So like if you're writing it down and it doesn't quite look right, remember that in quadrant 1, everything's positive because you have a positive x and a positive y. And for the other quadrants, there's, each one is positive in one of the quadrants, and the other two are negative. So in quadrant 2, you have a positive sign, cosine, tangent are negative. In quadrant 3, you have positive tangent, cosine, sine are negative. In quadrant 4, you have cosine is positive, and sine and tangent are negative. So if you're given something like, where is cosine negative? Where do you have a negative for cosine? And where do you have, so from that you know that cosine is negative in either quad 2 or quad 3. But now you figure out that sine is positive And the only place that sine is positive and cosine is negative is in quadrant 2, up here. So you know that you're in quadrant 2, and you'll get some problems like that eventually. All right, I hope that helped. Again, remember this in the upper right corner here. It'll be very helpful. Hopefully it didn't waste your time here, but thank you for watching, and please leave any questions down in the comment section below. Actually, just to make sure there's no confusion, sorry, a little more time. Sine here, our reciprocal won't change it. I just want to make sure we go through that. Your reciprocal, if you flip these, is not going to change where it's positive or where it's negative. So your reciprocal of sine, cosine, tangent are each positive or negative wherever the reciprocal is. All right, thank you for watching.